Play ball indeed, does the man say. First of all, I want to wish everybody a happy Father's Day from all of us here at Post 43 to all those great dads out there, all of you dads that are out there sweating in the sun today watching their sons play baseball. It's a great feeling, and we are welcome to have you here on the broadcast tonight from Fort Mill High School. The final game of the North Carolina South Carolina American Legion Baseball Challenge, in which South Carolina has already wrapped it up 6 games to 2. However, one final game left to play, and that'll be between our Post 43 from Fort Mill against Davidson County Post 8 Hogs. Quickly, let's go through the lineups. Leading off for Davidson County will be Will Beck, the shortstop. Charlie Beck, the second baseman, will hit second. Baden Gussa, the third baseman, hits third. First baseman Bo Tiller will be in the cleanup spot. Right fielder Luke Weldon will hit fifth. Center fielder Brody Ray hits sixth. Cooper Beck will catch tonight and hit seventh. Trent Lowe will be the designated hitter tonight, hitting eighth, and Callister Presnell, the left fielder, hitting ninth. And the pitcher will be number 9 Carter Benson. For Post 43, leading off and playing third will be Eli Craddock. Nico Bartolotti, the shortstop, will hit second. Hunter Biscay, the DH, will hit third tonight. And the cleanup spot will be Scott Young at first base. Zach Jennings will play center field and hit fifth. Sam Chiz will play right field and hit sixth. In left field tonight and hitting seventh will be Jonathan Barshow. The eighth hitter will be the second baseman Drew Brink. And the catcher hitting ninth will be Drew Gaff.
Will be number 4, Drew Gaff, and on the mound, number 20, Miles Corcoran.
Miles Corcoran will get the start for Post 43 here, and we're getting ready to get underway. We're about an hour and 25 minutes late. Sorry for that, folks. The last game between Rock Hill and Davidson County went way over, and that's saying it mildly. Your play-by-play announcer tonight, Keith Cook, alongside John Turner, the voice of the Fort Mill Post 43 senior team. And again, we welcome you here to Fort Mill tonight. First pitch getting ready to come at 6:23 p.m., about an hour and 23 minutes beyond its scheduled time. First pitch outside ball one.
6:23, time of the official first pitch. It is a very warm 90 degrees. The wind, nothing. The flags in center field completely limp.
Players are baking out there, and you got to figure Davidson County is probably pretty tired after going all that way against Rock Hill.
Absolutely, and they fell behind Rock Hill by 10 runs, but then roared back and actually cut the lead to 11-10.
Check swing by Beck, and it'll be 1-2 the count.
Then Rock Hill went on to hit a three-pointer. They kicked the extra point and all different kinds of sports references, and the final was 14-12 in a game that quite honestly could have been over in 5, might have been over in 6, but it went the full 7. So there you go.
The 1-2 pitch up high for ball 2. Miles Corcoran, a very tall right-hander, and he comes down the mound, and if he tripped, he'd be 3/4 of the way home to home plate.
Miles, an Indian Land warrior, or he was, I should say.
And that ball's chopped back to the mound. That's going to be a tough play, and they're not going to get him.
Just a swinging bunt is what it looked like, and beating the rap is Will Beck, and he's hustled all day long, and he's been a spark plug. Thus, the reason he's in the leadoff spot. Here's Charlie Beck.
As JT mentioned, the second baseman Charlie Beck will be coming to the plate. And no, we are not being lazy broadcasters today by just naming everybody Beck. There are 3 Becks in the lineup here for Davidson County.
Promise. We promise.
But I believe these first 2 are brothers, and he bunts that ball off to the left side foul.
Boy, if they're not, they certainly look a whole bunch alike.
They sure do. And they play the middle infield, and they I guess they have a good rhythm together when they're out there, when you see them play.
Yeah, Davidson County, I'm using it as a term of endearment. They're pesky. They're not going to go away quietly into the night. They're going to continue to battle and battle and battle. And the runner takes off for second. The pitch is called a ball. The throw down is on the money. He's gone. What a throw by Drew Gaff.
Right on the bag was that throw.
That's disgusting.
Good way to start it for Fort Mill on the defensive side, and now there's one out, nobody on base for Charlie Beck.
And I felt like Will had a pretty good jump there,
He
but
did.
that throw by Drew Gaff just right on the button.
The 1-1 brushes him off the plate for ball 2. The sun beating down over there on the Davidson County side, and they've got to be ready to internally combust.
For
The
more than
2-1.
one reason. Sorry, go ahead.
That's all right. 3-1 now the count, and he kind of did a little pirouette out there, and I'm not sure it was that close to hitting him or not, but 3-1 is the count. Upstairs for ball 4.
So a swinging bunt and now a walk giving up by Miles, and that'll bring up Gussa.
The Beck boys have been on base so far in the first inning, but
Next up for the Hogs, the third baseman.
Will
number
Beck
5,
thrown out.
David Gussa.
down trying to steal second base on Drew Gaff. Baden Gussa, the third baseman, comes up to the plate. Saw his parents walk into the stadium earlier before game 2 today. Folks, this is game number 9, the final game of this challenge. And Corcoran throws that ball into right field, and Beck is going to round second. He's going to get to third base very easily.
And that is the first error of the night already on Fort Mill, and a very ominous start indeed.
And it looks like the umpire is bringing Beck back to second base because the ball got trapped back there under the fence. And we've seen that happen a lot during this tournament.
It's the third or fourth time it's happened. There is a gate down there that is the opening to the batting facility here at Fort Mill High School. It's about, 20 feet or so behind the first base dugout, and that's where the ball has gone. And once it goes underneath that fence, and there is an opening, it's about, 5 inches or so. Ball goes underneath there, ball's out of play, runner gets second base.
Fresh count for Gussa.
And the thing about this this challenge, Keith, is that coming into it, it had been quite a drought for South Carolina in this challenge, but that drought is over as South Carolina will claim the challenge for the first time since 2016.
That is a long drought.
That is, yes, really long drought.
The 1-0 catches the corner to even the count at 1-1.
So all South Carolina needed was one win coming into today, and the boys from the Palmetto State have already notched 2.
Looking for the sweep.
Yes. As earlier this afternoon, Rock Hill beat a very good Queen City Mustangs team that had their way with Florence and Fort Mill. And both of those games were in comeback fashion, but the Mustangs not able to come back today against Rock Hill. So South Carolina leads the challenge 6-2. And
Ball in the dirt.
That's in pretty commanding fashion. If Fort Mill can beat Davidson County, South Carolina would win it in blowout fashion. It would make it 7-2. There's a long way to go, and boy, howdy do Keith and I know about long ways to go.
The 2-1 outside, 3-1.
Miles Corcoran attends SMC, Spartanburg Methodist, the Pioneers.
A lot of fine Fort Mill baseball players have gone down to play at Methodist.
Yes. I believe Joey Tepper started his career there, then transferred to Furman, and then back to Winthrop when Furman closed down their baseball program.
Down to the dirt ball far, the second walk issued on the night by Corcoran.
And Miles isn't missing by much. I mean, these are really close borderline pitches, just not getting the call.
That'll bring up the first baseman, Bo Tiller.
Next up for the Hogs, the first baseman, number 20, Bo Tiller.
And I think I figured out why they're nicknamed the Hogs. It took me 3 days to finally put my brain in gear to put it together. But I think I might have figured it out.
Swing and a miss by Tiller.
Isn't that where one of the Smithfield facilities is?
It could very well be, especially
is
since it's the barbecue capital of North Carolina.
And that I'm wondering if that's why it's called the Hogs.
Could be.
WHWGS.
That's
There's-
a bouncer to shortstop. Nice throw across the diamond
That's Nico
by
Bartolotti.
Bartolotti, and that'll be out number 2.
That's a nice play by Nico.
He had to throw a long way across the diamond to get that ball over there.
So second and third and 2 down for Weldon.
The right fielder, Luke Weldon, comes to the plate.
Now batting the right
He has
fielder,
2
15, Luke Weldon.
runners in scoring position here with 2 outs in the top of the first inning.
Appreciate y'all hanging with us through this delay. Thank you so much for tuning into the broadcast, whether it's today or any day, any of the games that we broadcast. We appreciate it.
Strike 1. Nice pitch by Corcoran to go through the back door.
It's a curveball, but it has some nice glove side movement to it that bites down to the back foot of a left-hander. And when it's high like that, a lot of times a batter they'll give up on it.
Mm-hmm.
But it clips that front corner and comes right below the belt on its way by.
The 0-1. Nice pitch, check swing, and he did go 0-2 the count.
He did. And there have been some controversial check swings in this tournament.
Mm-hmm.
That one, not so much. That one was pretty clear.
He almost turned around towards the pitcher with his bat in his hand. Almost impossible to say that he didn't go around. The 0-2. Nice pitch on the outside corner, strike 3. And that'll be the end of the inning. No runs, 1 hit, no errors. 2 men left on base. Head to the bottom of the first inning with your score. Davidson County, nothing. Fort Mill coming to bat. You're listening to the North Carolina, South Carolina American League Legion Baseball Challenge from Fort Mill High School on the We Are Fort Mill Broadcasting Network, powered by YouTube. Be right back. Bottom of the first inning here from Fort Mill High School. No score between Davidson County and Fort Mill Post 43. Post 43 getting ready to have their first hacks of the evening here in the baseball game. And to lead that off will be the third baseman, Eli Craddock. He'll be followed by Nico Bartolotti and Hunter Viscay. 1, 2, 3 in the order here in the bottom of the first inning.
Leading off the bottom of the first inning for Fort Mill Post 43. Third baseman number 10, Eli Craddock.
Joe Riley coaching down at first base and Jonathan Romano down at third base. Head coach Tom Skula in the dugout. Longtime head coach of Fort Mill Post 43, doing a great job as always. And then stands Eli to take the first pitch. And he hits it up the middle. That's going to be a tough play for Beck. He throws off his back foot, but not in time. Eli Craddock aboard with a opening single here in the bottom of the first inning. And that'll be against Carter Benson, the pitcher for Davidson County.
Shortstop number 16, Nico Bartolotti.
Nico Bartolotti, the shortstop, who made a nice play to his right side in the top half of the first inning, stands in there with one man aboard here in the bottom of the first inning, nobody out. and that misses the outside corner just barely.
Kind of an all-star cast of umpires. The two out in the field, very decorated, long careers, college level umpires, very, very good. And the gentleman behind the plate is still a youngster, but very good in his own right. And he was a hell of a player back in his day, but we're not going to tell you who those guys are because that's sort of a gentleman's agreement that I've made with the umpires is to not divulge that information. And Eli should be out, and he is.
He gets picked.
He got picked off. He tried to go back in standing up, and he gets picked off. So that'll go as a caught stealing.
So just like in the top half of the first inning when Beck was caught stealing, Fort Mill suffers a similar fate. And that home plate umpire you mentioned but didn't mention, he came in here guns a-blazing yesterday.
Yeah, that actually is pretty funny now. He still got some hops, so to speak.
He does.
He was rushing in here, was running a wee bit tardy. He comes in and he jumped over the gate.
Jumped the fence.
He just jumped right over it. Didn't put his hand on it, just right over the top.
Down low for ball 3 to Nico.
Easily the quickest of the three out there on the field.
Yeah, I'd put my house on that.
Oh, easily.
3-1 pitch. Down to the dirt, ball 4. So just like in the top of the first inning, man gets aboard with a single, gets thrown out, running, and then the second batter's a walk.
Next up for Fort Mill Post 43, the designated hitter number 12, Hunter Busquet.
Hunter Busquet, the DH tonight for Fort Mill, comes to the plate. Outstanding catcher from Clover High School. And he's been ripping the ball lately.
Yes, he has.
I know some people said he was in a slump, but I don't see it.
Well, he was. In the art of fairness, he was. But you see how
outside corner for a strike.
You see how hot he got very quickly, and his reward is in there as the designated hitter, but up in the order. He's in the 3-hole for Coach Tonskula, who is the all-time winningest coach in Fort Mill Post 43 baseball history, by the way.
Down in the dirt, and off goes Bartolotti, and he gets down to second base.
That'll go in the book as a wild pitch. It was in the dirt, and it was smothered pretty well, honestly, by Cooper Beck, but Bartolotti read it immediately and goes sliding in head first, which you don't like to see the youngsters go in sliding head first.
No, not these days, the way that happened to Eli the other night. 1-1 the count to Biscuit. That's down on the dirt, ball 2, and it seems like he's coming across and releasing a little bit further down with his arm movement.
Yeah, it's a great point, and I was watching Hunter there. That's the other part of this streak that he's on now. He's not chasing that pitch now. He was chasing it earlier, trying to do too much with it. Now he's not even going after it. And he just did exactly what I told him not to do. It's 2-2.
Thank you, Biscuit. Perfect segue.
He is a
now.
rebellious soul.
A lot of room between center and right field for Biscuit if he can get that ball out there. And he may have seen that, and that's why he went for that outside pitch, the last pitch. The 2-2. And that's what he did do. He goes to the right side, and there's nobody over there to take care of first base. The pitcher gets over there just in time.
Boy. Bang,
That's
bang,
a tough
play.
break.
But I think the umpire got that one right.
I do, too. Bartolotti moves over to third base, and that'll bring up the first baseman, Scott Young.
Now batting for Fort Mill, the first baseman, number 24, Scott Young.
My nephew in Ohio, which I mentioned a couple of broadcasts back, whose name is Zachary Scott Young, he gets quite a kick out of hearing me announce Scott Young's name. He is definitely Zach's favorite player, which Scott has a brother named Zach, coincidentally, outside ball 1.
We'll go ahead and apologize, first of all, for the tired tones of our voice. It has been a long 3 days. And by the way, Keith, I can't thank you enough for being here, and just very, very appreciative of your hard work and just Thanks, man, for being here. Appreciate
You're welcome. I've
Yeah.
enjoyed it. It's been a lot of fun. It's a lot of baseball, and we're going to be sleeping real well tonight for sure.
it. Yes.
But there's nothing I love more than the game of baseball.
A little red meat, a little tater,
Yep.
a little sweet tea, and then
Snore City, ball two down low to Scott Young.
the other thing we'll apologize for is there is a slight glare on the camera at the moment. The reason for that is the windows are closed. Why? Because it's 90 degrees. It feels like it's 94, and there's no wind, and the grill is still on below us. And all it will do is fill this entire press box with smoke, which is what it did yesterday. And I came in early today and opened up the entire place, switched the fans on high just to get rid of the smoky smell that had billowed into this joint. So until they turn the old grill off, the windows are going to stay closed. It's more for that than the heat, to be honest.
Right. Because we can get a little bit of a breeze coming through here. Twos are wild here. 2-2 with 2 outs, bottom of the first. Bartolotti at third, and Scott Young takes that pitch and it goes all the way to the backstop, and that'll score a run. Or will it?
It
He
does.
is. He slid right under it. That was a perfect carom off the backstop there to get that ball back to Benson, or actually to Beck, who throws it to Benson. And Bartolotti did kind of a sweep tag, getting his hand under and touching the plate, and Fort Mill leads 1-0.
So the walk and then a couple of wild pitches. And you hate to bring it back up again, but man, that caught steal it looks bigger right now because it could be 2-zip, but instead it's only 1.
A 2-zip with just one out, too.
And okay, so I think the left fielder is just really tired because he literally was laying on the ground there for a second.
Oh,
I was
no.
worried that he was injured.
Payoff pitch to Scott Young with nobody on base. Checks his swing.
Oh,
Ball
that's a
4.
good eye. Wow. Boy, is that a good eye.
Yeah, that takes a good eye to be able to lay off that pitch, and he checked it perfectly, and he's down with a 2-out walk.
First up for Fort Mill, the center fielder, number 5, Zach Jennings.
Zach Jennings, the center fielder, comes up to the plate with 2 outs here in the bottom half of the first inning. Fort Mill scores as per usual with 2 outs. The pitch. That's upstairs and away, ball 1.
And that seems to be the MO for the pitcher, Carter Benson. Everything is away, away, away at the moment, especially early in the count. And that one's fouled out of play, right side, 1-1 the count to Jennings. And I just can't help but wonder if that's the scouting report. Is that his MO? Is that what his coach, Coach Cook, told him he needed to do? We shall see. David Sellers, Andrew Cook, Alex Yarborough, Rick Cook, coaches for Davidson County.
Ball's inside for ball 2, 2-1.
So after going away and then away, comes high and inside, change the eye level, go back outside and low, or do you double up and try to bring it in there for a strike? And there's a
Ooh.
snap throw to first, and this kid's got a good move.
He does, and that fooled Scott Young a little bit. And I can tell you that Scott Young was not leaning. I was watching him the whole way, and he just had that quick snap throw over there. Young getting back safely. Sam Chiz would be next. 2-1 almost hits him. Ball 3.
Yeah, that breaking ball, he never came out over the top of it, and it almost sailed in there.
And it was similar to that ball that went to the backstop that scored Bartolotti. 3-1 the count.
And let the friendly barbs begin between me and a certain player's father.
I think I know that, man.
I'm going to let you read that, Keith. That's pretty good right there. My man's working hard today. He's wearing that rotator cuff out.
He is.
Might have to have
I love it.
Does he need to have a steroid shot into his labrum?
He might need to.
Little PT.
I certainly understand his pain that he is conveying. Full count on Zach Jennings. Young will almost certainly be on the move here. He is. He hits it right back up the middle. And Young's going to try to stretch it to third base, and he'll get there easily. Runners at the corners with 2 outs for Sam Chiz.
And Scott read that perfectly. He saw it wasn't hit very hard. He noticed where it was going. He noticed where the center fielder was, and he took advantage of it.
Excellent piece of base running by Scott Young.
Next up for Fort Mill, the right fielder, number 11, Sam Chiz.
So a lot like what Fort Mill's been doing all season long. They are producing with 2 outs. So you can never rest when you're the opposing pitcher in defense. Sam Chiz up to that for the first time today. The Clover Blue Eagle stands in. And they decide to throw down to second base, and he's out.
He is. He got caught.
And Zach Jennings is disgusted with himself, and I don't know if he got a late jump or not, but nevertheless, he gets thrown out in a great throw by Cooper Beck. So 1 run, 2 hits, no errors, 1 man left on base. We head to the top half of the second inning with your score: Fort Mill 1, Davidson County nothing. You're listening to the North Carolina, South Carolina American Legion Baseball Challenge here on the We Are Fort Mill Broadcasting Network, powered by YouTube. We'll be right back. Top half of the second inning here from Fort Mill High School. Fort Mill Post 43 leads Davidson County Post 8, 1-0. And Brody Ray comes to the plate, center fielder. Great work behind the dish by both catchers, throwing out runners in the first inning. Miles Corcoran delivers, and it crosses the plate on the outside corner for strike 1. Ray struggled a little bit in game 1 today against Rock Hill. And that ball's a floater out into shallow left field. But under it, making the catch very easily, is Jonathan Barshow, and that'll bring up Cooper Beck, the catcher. So Ray's got to feel a little bit better about himself after the rough outing he had against Rock Hill by at least not striking out this time. Ball in the dirt, ball 1. And as a hitter, I know you get into one of those slumps, it's hard to get out of it. It's all up in the head. That ball is outside, ball 2. Although I know we were worn out after these 9 games, it's going to be very unusual to not see these same folks next week when we head to our respective games.
Well, I'll say this. It's been quite the experience. Yes, we're all exhausted. Yes, a lot of things have gone on, some good, some not so good. But all in all, not patting ourselves on the back, but I think it's gone pretty well.
I agree.
We've had some great baseball games. We've had some back and forth. We've had some big comebacks. And selfishly, South Carolina won the dadgum thing. And heck, we're
no complaints here. And he helps out Corcoran, but Eli throws the ball into Lancaster County, and that'll be a runner at second base here with one out in the top of the second inning. I don't know what happened there. It looked like he gloved it fine, but the ball just took Zach about 3 feet off the base and just got by
It
him out in
did.
the right
It
field.
almost looked like the ball slipped out of his hand.
It looks like Carter Ray will be the courtesy runner.
For the Hogs, number 7, Carter Ray.
And I didn't even have to look him up. That's odd.
Davidson County, the designated hitter, number 21, Trent Lowe.
Trent Lowe, the DH, comes to the plate with a runner at second and one out. And time is called by the field umpire. Might that be the umpire that likes to make requests for songs?
Yes, he does. He does. And if you think we're kidding, no, we've had an umpire do that before.
I just saw him and I realized who it was.
That's right.
Inside corner for strike one.
That's him.
That backed Lowe off the plate a little bit, but it did cross the plate right at the corner. 0-1 the count.
But in the art of fairness, the song that he requested is a really good one. So I'll give
is.
him credit for his taste in the genre of music anyway.
Right down Tom Hall Street for strike two.
And if you're Miles Corcoran, that's really the secret sauce, and it's not really complicated at all. Throw strikes. Just literally pump it in there.
Let your defense do their job. Here's the pitch from Corcoran. I was going to say he probably needs to step off the rubber at this point. He kept looking back at second base, back to home plate. Looked a little bit confused. That was probably the right idea.
Yeah, I'm not sure that him and Drew are on the same page quite yet with the signs.
Oh, that looked like that could have been a strike three, but I guess a little bit too high.
Yep, definitely caught the corner. Must have been high.
Because Lowe's an imposing figure up there in the plate.
Yeah, he's one of the few that can look out at Corcoran and it's like normal.
And he kind of pushes that off to the left side. Eli giving it a chase. He went a long way, but could not get the ball. We'll do the 1-2 all over again.
Nice that ball banged onto the crush and run down the third base line right in front of the Davidson County bullpen. And if you know anything about Fort Mill High School and the ginormous amount of foul territory, it gives you an idea of how far and how quickly Eli ran. That ball was not popped up very high at all.
No.
Never even made it to the bottom of the lights.
It was almost like a check swing from Lowe. And Eli about ran it down. That was a long way to go. Nice hustle. And another check swing. Eli will take another chance, throw it over to first base, and he's got the man at second hung up and throws him out. Nice alert play by Eli Craddock to throw it over to Drew Brink to get the lead runner out there, and that is
nicely done.
That was
very
yes.
Well done.
That was Ray that got hung up between second and third, and Eli made a great play.
County, the left fielder, number 12, Alistair Presnell.
So the error that Eli made has been erased down at second base. Nice revenge factor there. Great play. Great heads-up play. That brings up Alistair Presnell, the ninth hitter for Davidson County, runner at first with 2 outs. Miles Corcoran delivers the pitch. Strike one on the outside corner.
And really and truly, Miles doesn't need to kind of poke around at all. He just needs to just dial it up and lay it in there. His stuff's got enough movement on it. It can do the job.
1 pitch, same spot, same result, 0-2. Quickly in the hole is Presnell. And as a batter, how intimidating is Corcoran out there on the mound? I mean, he looks like he's 8 feet tall from here.
Yeah, the Randy Johnson factor, if you will. And it's not that he's just tall. He is a thick young man. He is really, really strong. But when you talk to him, he's just a nice kid. He really is. He's humble and always looking to help out. And it's just really appreciative of being here, and that's nice.
High fly ball. Barshow giving it a chase. He'll get under it for out number 3. No runs, no hits, 1 error, and 1 man left on base. We head to the
No runs,
bottom
no
of the
hits,
second inning with your score,
1 error,
Fort Mill
and 1
1,
man left for
Davidson County nothing. You're listening to the North Carolina, South Carolina
Carolina
American Legion Baseball Challenge here from Fort Mill High School, presented on the We Are Fort Mill Broadcasting Network, powered by MixLR, or YouTube, pardon me. We'll be right back. Bottom of the second inning, Fort Mill leading 1-0. Sam Chiz, the leadoff hitter for the P43s. And Benson delivers one, and he slices it down the right field line, and it is fair.
Going to bounce
Chiz
around.
is going to easily get to third base, and the
They're
outfielder
gonna-
holds
nope.
his hands up. It'll
Yep.
be a ground rule double.
Yep, and I'll tell you exactly where the ball went because I was watching it roll because I was trying to see whether it was going to make it all the way to the tarp, and it did, and it got all the way to the fence, and I know exactly what happened. In the fence down there, because of all the, anytime it rains really, really hard in this ballpark, what ends up happening is you get basically what's a dugout down there. And basically, it's about maybe 6 inches deep. Here's Barshow. Hang on.
Next up for Fort Mill Post 43, the left fielder number 8, Jonathan Barshow.
And so as the ball caromed down into that corner, it literally found that opening, which is about a foot wide and 6 inches deep. Couldn't do that again if he tried.
I'd say that's like hitting a hole in one.
So basically, it's a ground rule double, but
And
trying
Barshow goes the same way, and is it going to get down? It is.
yes, and
Two
it's 2-1.
consecutive doubles, and Chiz will come around to score, and it's 2-0 Fort Mill.
And the cutoff man threw it into second base, and that's actually a gift. And Romano saw it right away.
The right fielder figured he was so far out there's no way on earth he's going to make that play at home plate. Romano gives the
One in the
windmill.
plate for Fort Mill, the second baseman number 1, Drew Brink.
Drew Brink, the Nation Ford Falcon, comes to the plate. There's nobody out here in the bottom of the second. Fort Mill just scored their second run on a double by Jonathan Barshow.
Can he make it 3 doubles in a row? Come on, Drew.
I like it. He went the other direction.
It's a trend, Drew. Feel the peer pressure. Another double. Remember in Waterboy? You can do it.
Oh no, we beat again.
But we're not playing the foosball.
Drew Brink with the red, white, black, and yellow Louisville Slugger. You don't see those very much anymore. And that ball hits the mascot. And Barshow gets down to third base. 1-1 to count on Drew Brink.
Wow.
So what would you think of him laying down a safety squeeze at this point? He's fast enough that if he lays it down the first base line, he might get an infield hit.
To be very honest with you, I don't know enough about Drew Brink's bunt game. But if he's good at laying one down, what I'd like to see him do here, where the third baseman's playing, he's trying to take it away. Make this pitcher field it. Push it up the first base line.
They can make a decision between third or home and first.
Bingo. Because the third baseman's going to charge. If he squares around a bunt, that third baseman's going to creep in a little bit further in. That means Barshow can basically carbon copy, if you will, the same movement. He can come that far down the line with the third baseman. And if that third baseman comes 20 feet in, so can Jonathan. Push it up the first base line. Even if you're out, the run scores easily.
2-2. That's the outside corner for strike 3. Brink didn't like it. And neither did the crowd, but one out here in the bottom of the second inning.
Walking to the plate for Fort Mill is the catcher number 4, Drew Gaff.
Drew Gaff, the Fort Mill High product, comes to the plate. Made an excellent throw in the top of the first inning to cut off a base runner stealing second base. And he stands in there with one out here in the bottom of the second. Benson gets set. Here's the pitch. That ball is on the outside corner. Looked a little bit low from here, but that's why they pay those guys behind the plate the big bucks. 0-1 to count.
All it has to do is clip the black part of the plate in that front corner. That's all it's got to do.
That one also seemed low, but it must have gotten at the knees, at the front of the plate. 0-2 quickly to count on Drew Gaff.
And that's either a two-seam or a changeup because it got to home plate and it dropped about 6 to 8 inches.
Swing and a miss. The second strikeout of the inning by Benson, and second out here in the second out of the inning.
Back to the top of the order for Fort Mill, and third baseman
Eli
number
Craddock,
10.
third baseman, comes
Eli
up.
Craddock.
Eli got an infield hit his first time up and then was gunned down at first base on kind of a pickoff attempted steal. Very similar how these two teams played out in the first inning, only Fort Mill was able to scratch a run across. A ball high for ball 1.
And if there is an advantage for Fort Mill in this game is P43 hasn't played since last night. They've been in the night game all 3 days. It's one of the benefits, if you will, of being the host team. Whereas Davidson County, this is the second game of a doubleheader for them, and they've been standing out in the hot sun, 90 degrees. And that game against Rock Hill, the 14-12, that bad boy lasted 3.5 hours.
That's a lot of time to be out there. And it's only so much you can do to cool off between games when you only have 30 minutes in between. 1-1 the count to Eli down low, ball 2.
And to add insult to injury, they don't have a full complement of players either. They're playing baseball right now with 14 guys, and they had to use 4 different pitchers against Rock Hill to get through that game. So they could be a little shorthanded in the pen as well.
That ball stays inside 3-1.
And Eli almost wore that one, and he's going to be a little bit gun shy, so to speak, because of that wrist.
Athletic Director Mac Banks in the house, in the building, so to speak. He's done a great job for this challenge here.
Thank you
weekend.
very much. Oh,
Outside
good eye.
Ball 4.
What an eye by Eli. Wow.
That'll bring up Nico
Next up for Fort
Bartolotti.
Mill is the shortstop number 16, Nico Bartolotti.
Bartolotti scored the first run for Fort Mill Post 43 in the first inning. Looking to deliver the third run here in the bottom of the second. Checks his signal sleeve.
Yeah, so basically it's 3 digits. It's 3 numbers. And it has a play, or it could be something, or it could be nothing. There are some what they call dummy calls in there. But Coach Jonathan Romano, the head coach of York Prep, former Fort Mill assistant coach, and former Fort Mill Yellow Jacket, went to Anderson College before it was Anderson University, and he's flashing the numbers. Coach Riley at first base, Fort Mill assistant coach.
Misses the outside corner for ball 1.
And see right there, I think that was a dummy call. Because I was keeping an eye on Eli at first. I'm really surprised he didn't take off on first movement. And there's a throw over to first. And Eli's already been picked off once. And so he's a little more conscientious about it over there at first. Normally he gets a very liberal lead. Not so much right now. He's not even at 9. But there he goes on a breaking ball low and inside, and the catcher just has to put it in his pocket.
And do you score that a defensive indifference, or would that just
No.
be the fact that he couldn't get the ball over there?
It's a stolen base simply because he came up and he at least attempted, air quotes. In other words, he did pay it some attention. If the catcher comes up and even attempts to make a throw, even if the ball doesn't leave his hand, that should be a stolen base. But if the catcher just basically just catches it and acts like you don't even exist, that's defensive indifference.
The 3-0 pitch. A little bit low for ball 4, and the bases are full of P43s, and that'll bring up the DH Hunter Busquet. Cooper Beck goes out to talk to Benson real fast. And Coach Tom Skula brings some fresh baseballs to the home plate umpire.
For Fort Mill Post 43, the designated hitter number 12, Hunter Busquet.
Bases full.
That comes back to the plate, and we're ready for more action here with 2 outs in the bottom of the second. Fort Mill leading Davidson County 2-0. That ball up high for ball 1.
And the last time I can remember Biscuit with the bases loaded in this ballpark, he jacked a grand slam home run that gave his beloved Clover Blue Eagles a 5-1 lead over Fort Mill. So to say he's done this before, yes, he has. And very recently. That ball went over the fence, over the bushes, over the sidewalk, and into the student parking lot on the fly.
That's a long shot there. 2-0 to count on Biscuit.
But right now, I would just take a little Ric Flair out to right center field. Thank you very much.
Outside corner for strike 1. 2-1 now to count.
But don't get me wrong. If he wants to send one out of here, and hey, who am I to say what he should and shouldn't be? You do you, Biscuit.
2-1 outside ball 3, and there's nowhere to put him on the bags.
Now, it's been soft away.
He's got to come in now.
And that's the thing. If you're Hunter, look fastball, look in your happy place, and if it's there, grip and rip. If it's not, let it go.
3-1 pitch. And a little Ric Flair to the right side. First baseman catches it in foul territory, and that'll end the inning.
1 run for Fort Mill on 2 base hits, no errors, and the bases left loaded. We head to the 3rd inning. Your score is now Fort Mill 2 and Davidson County 0.
1 run, 2 hits, no errors. All 3 base runners left on base. We head to the top of the 3rd inning. The score: Fort Mill 2, Davidson County 0. You're listening to the North Carolina South Carolina American Legion Baseball Challenge on the We Are Fort Mill Broadcasting Network, powered by YouTube. We'll be right back. About to start inning number 3 here from Fort Mill High School. Fort Mill leading Davidson County 2-0. Update on the juniors team here from Fort Mill, since we've been all seniors this weekend, and it should be all about the seniors this weekend as they're participating in this important challenge between the Carolinas. Juniors are 4-2 on the season. They lost to Rock Hill last Thursday to drop a 2-game winning streak, but they are at home against Lancaster Post 31 on Tuesday, on the road at Lancaster Post 31 on Wednesday, and then back home on Thursday against those same Lancaster Post 31 head coach Mike Lewis, doing a great job as usual in his third season running the program. Program has been in existence only 3 seasons. Will Beck, shortstop and the leadoff hitter, leads off inning number 3 and takes a curveball for strike 1.
That Lancaster series is very important, not just to the junior team, but the senior team against Post 31 as well. And Coach Jimmy Jackson, very important for both. And really and truly for basically the same reason. They're both going to be really difficult series. Both of those teams for Lancaster have got some players on it. They can really play ball. So you want to be able to take 2 out of 3 because you don't want to have to play that 4th game later in the year, especially if you have to go to Lancaster and win on the road, especially when it comes down to run differential. You want to put all the pressure on Lancaster Post 31. The only way to do that is to win the series 2 out of 3.
Exactly. Fort Mill tied with Rock Hill in the standings in the juniors at 4-2, and that ball's up high to run it to 1-2. And based on run differential, the juniors would actually have the number 1 seed if the season ended today. So an important showing against Lancaster is paramount for the junior team as well as the senior team. The 1-2 pitch, swing and a miss down in the dirt, and Gaff will throw it over to Scott Young, and that'll be out number 1.
Next up for the Hogs, the second baseman, number 6, Charlie Beck.
Charlie Beck, the second baseman, comes up, the second of the Becks in the lineup. And again, going back to the seniors, they have the flip-flop of the schedule that the juniors have. They will go to Lancaster on Tuesday night, and they will come home against Lancaster Wednesday to go back on the road on Thursday at Lancaster Legion Field. And he hits it right back up the middle, and Drew Brink can't get to it. He gets out into center field, and that'll be a 1-out single for Charlie Beck.
Got something on the inner half, something he could pull his hands in, get the barrel to, just send it right back where it came from.
Third baseman, Baden Gussa.
Play for Davidson County, the third baseman, number 5, Baden Gussa.
And these Hogs will not go away, as you've mentioned before. They're a very scrappy bunch, and we expect them to continue to be scrappy throughout the game.
They were down 11-1 to Rock Hill. It would have been easy to just lay down and play dead, but no. They scored 4 and then scored another, made it 11-6, and then made it 11-10. And you could feel the tension in the ballpark. The Rock Hill fans were comfortable, and most fan bases would be up 11-1. Everybody would be. And then all of a sudden it made it 11-10, and it was like, uh-oh. But then Rock Hill scored some more runs, and the final score was 14-12.
The 1-0 pitch from Corcoran. Oh, about threw it to the backstop. That was a nice play by Gaff to grab that out of the air, 2-0.
That's a fastball. That bad boy's got some gas on it.
It did.
So for Gaff to have to reach out like that, it's almost an all or nothing play. And with a runner like Beck at first, that would have been easy to second, even with a ricochet back to the catcher.
That catches the outside corner for strike 1.
Because we've seen the ball hit the backstop in this stadium with the new backstop, with the padding, and it will carry them all the way back to the circle. We've seen them bounce all the way back into fair play or fair territory. It's crazy.
And that ball outside for ball 3. So Corcoran going to have to battle back here against Gussa, the number 3 hitter in the lineup, and also in this inning. 1 out here in the top of the 3rd inning.
Now, the pitching staff for Fort Mill in this tournament has done Coach Skula a solid.
Up high for ball 4. Runners at first and second now with 1 out.
And borderline call. That goes the way of Davidson County. Did look high. 3rd free pass given up by Miles.
First baseman Bo Tiller comes up to the plate.
Next up for Davidson County, first baseman, number 20, Bo Tiller.
And as you mentioned, the pitching has been doing Coach Skula a solid, especially getting down the stretch here against Lancaster next week. Corcoran comes set and delivers outside ball one.
To expand upon what I'm talking about, go to last night's game where Seth Hansen started, and Seth didn't have his A-plus stuff. He knew that. So had to go to the bullpen early. In stepped Kyle Knoll, and all Kyle did was not give up a single run until the seventh. And that was yeoman's work by Kyle. He really saved the bullpen. So if Miles, and hopefully Miles will just settle into the rocket chair and be just fine. But if he can't, you've got all kinds of options down there. There are some more guys who can start to spin, and now there's going to be some action into the Fort Mill bullpen. And the first guy in my mind that would be the next guy out is the guy who's warming up, and that's Jacob Iverson.
Iverson threw a little bit last night. Thought we might see him at some point, but Noel was able to shut the door or finish the game, not shut the door, but finish the game for Fort Mill.
Yeah, Iverson was ready to go. You're right, but Kyle Noel refused to come out. He wanted to stay in there, and he made his point clear.
Corcoran in a little bit of trouble here, 2-0 with runners at first and second to Bo Tiller, the first baseman.
As the sun peeks out from behind the clouds, just when it was nice and shady, and
it would have felt a little bit better out there. Now you start seeing the fans squirming a little bit. And even Lane Ross's sister is down there practically napping on the picnic table. She must have had a ball game today as well. 2-1 the count. And Corcoran balks.
That's a balk. That is a balk.
Did a little pirouette on the rubber, and it cost him 90 feet for each runner. So runners at second and third here with one out in the top of the third inning. And this is where you can start getting into trouble.
Very much can. Takes the double play out of order, which is unfortunate. But flip side of the coin is first base unoccupied. So with that pitch out of the zone, now 3-1. If you lose Tiller, not the end of the world. But if he does lose Tiller and load the bases with only one out, you can expect a visit to the mound.
Luke Weldon stands on deck for the post 8 Hogs. 3-1 the count. Corcoran comes set. The delivery, swing and a miss, and Tiller helped him out a little bit on that one.
That's a huge break. But a big payoff pitch to a very powerful hitter. We've seen him hit a couple of baseballs where he just got underneath it and sent the left fielder almost to the lip of the track.
The last game against Rock Hill, he did that. Got way, oh boy, and that ball's out in the center field. And that's going to get over the head of Zach Jennings, and that'll score 2 runs to tie the game. And like you said, he's been sailing some balls into orbit, and this time he hits it to the furthest part of the ballpark.
And we got a brand new ball game tied at 2, and that ball was crushed. And the only thing that saved it from being a double was the fact that Mr. Tiller came around the first base bag, and he tripped up and fell pretty hard. And he's going to have to try to walk that off. But 2 RBIs ties us at 2, a runner at first, and still only 1 down.
Luke Weldon come to the plate.
Now batting the right fielder, number 15, Luke Weldon.
So brand new ball game. This is kind of what we saw with the Queen City game last night, where Fort Mill took a lead, but then Queen City wrestled it back. And you just got to hope that the damage will stay this light here in the top of the third inning. Corcoran with the pitch. Squares the bunt, almost hits him.
Yeah, that was a back foot breaking ball that was overcooked. And the only thing, matter of fact, if that ball to center field, if we're at several other ballparks we go to, that's gone.
He did. He hit that to the deepest part of the ballpark almost, anyway. He hit it almost to the flagpole. But the deepest part, as you've mentioned before, is a little bit to the right of the flagpole. And that ball stays up and out for ball 2.
And the question was asked, how do I know this? There's an app on my phone, and I actually do it when we go on the road. And I'll ask the opposing coach, hey, can I measure your field? If they don't know what the measurements are.
Mm-hmm.
And that pitch outside the zone. And it might seem like a bizarre request, but a funny story on that. Fort Mill played at Burns this year in the playoffs, and I went and asked their head coach if I could do that, and he said, "Sure, under one condition: you have to come back and tell me what they are." He didn't know what the dimensions of his own ballpark was.
That might be a nice side hustle there to go measure ballparks that don't have their dimensions on them.
And I just kind of looked at him like, "Is he for real right now? I think he's being real. I think." Yeah. And then when I told him what they were, he was like, "Yeah, that was kind of what I was guessing."
Yeah, I knew that already. The 3-1 up high for ball four, runners at first and second.
Second walk issued in this inning, and the fourth walk issued overall. Then it's going to bring a visit to the mound by Coach Schooler.
And you had to figure that eventually this was going to happen, whether it was going to be after Tiller's ball out there to deep center field or if it was another walk. But that's going to be the end of the night for Miles Corcoran. Jacob Iverson from Catawba Ridge will come in to relieve him.
It'll be our first Palmetto Family Hearing Center call to the bullpen. Palmetto Family Hearing is dedicated to serving all their patients' hearing needs with expertise, technology, and personalized care. 2 locations, one in Fort Mill, one in Lancaster, and always open at palmettofamilyhearing.com.
And while Jacob Iverson comes in to warm up, we'll take a break for station identification. You're listening to the North Carolina, South Carolina American Legion Baseball Challenge, presented by Fort Mill High School and on the We Are Fort Mill Broadcasting Network, powered by YouTube. We'll be right back. Brody Ray comes to the plate here in the top of the third inning with the score tied at 2, 1 out. Jacob Iverson facing his first batter of the challenge. The ball down low for ball 1. Iverson, as I mentioned before the break, from Catawba Ridge High School, member of the 2023 4A South Carolina State Championship Copperheads team. The 1-0 pitch. Check swing.
Pitch is called strike anyway. Jacob of an incredibly bright young man. He's going to Emory and Henry.
Well, you do have to have a brain or two to do that.
That's challenging school academically.
Hits it right back up the middle, and it bounces over the glove of Nico Bartolotti, and that'll load the bases here in the top of the third inning.
And that ball hit the dirt, kind of took a funny hop on Nico, and it actually caromed away from him a little bit.
First hit of the afternoon for Brody Ray, and that'll bring up Cooper
Come
Beck.
back for the Hogs, the catcher number 23, Cooper Beck.
So bases full of Hogs here in the top of the third inning. Iverson looking to get out of this jam with 1 out. Infield at double play depth.
Good pitch.
right down Tom Hall Street for strike one. The way things have been nip and tuck for Fort Mill the last 24 hours, I don't blame them for trying to cut off a run or at least getting that double play, and that's going to be trouble. Bartolotti has to throw to first, and he gets there just in time.
Not
But
hit
that
hard
will
enough to
score
get two.
Tiller, and it's 3-2, Davidson County.
Not batting, the designated hitter number 21, Trent Lowe.
Trent Lowe comes to the plate with 2 outs here in the top of the third inning, and they've taken the lead on virtue of 3 runs here in the top of the third. They lead Fort Mill 3-2. Iverson delivers and almost kills his 9-hole hitter Presnell out there. Strike one.
Callister's looking at his teammate like, dude,
I'm
what's
right
up?
here. 0-1 the count. Here's the pitch. Stays up and away for ball one.
This half inning has lasted so long that pitcher for Davidson County is now down the third base line throwing some warm-up pitches, even though it's a really hot day. This has been a long half inning. As Davidson County is, if Lowe were to reach, Davidson County will have batted around here in the top of inning number 3.
And we saw that with Zach Hunt the other day when they scored so many runs that he was in the dugout for so long. 2-1 the pitch. Here comes up high, ball 3, and Gaff had to extend a little bit to prevent that one from going back to the screen. First base open, so a walk would not be the end of the world, but you certainly want to go ahead and get this out with the number 9 hitter in the on deck circle. 3-1. Iverson walks him.
And that'll be the first walk issued by Jacob Iverson, but that's already the 5th free pass by Fort Mill pitching in this game.
Callister Presnell comes up with 2 outs here in the top of the third inning. And Presnell calls time, steps out of the box.
He flew out to center field to end the second inning. And that would do quite nicely right now, as Fort Mill just needs to get back into the dugout and get the offense back out there. Now, there's 2 ways to look at this, and now that'll bring a visit to the mound by Coach Romano. And basically the thing here is throw strikes. It's a pretty simple message, because the Fort Mill defense has stood out there for a really long time, and it's a really warm day, and the flags in center field are not moving an inch, which is kind of unusual in this ballpark, especially when it's been this hot. And there was some ominous looking clouds early on. That was probably about an hour before first pitch of this game. So that's how much energy has been building up in this area, as that pitch is right down the heart of the plate for a strike with a fastball. And the thing about it is, ever since that sun popped out from behind that huge cloud, the temperature rose again. And like you said, Keith, a lot of people in the seated areas, they've found a new spot.
Indeed. That ball's a dribbler out to Bartolotti. That's going to be a tough play. He throws to his right and makes the play. Nice play to his right by Nico Bartolotti. Gets Presnell barely by a couple of steps.
With the bottom of the third inning, a change in the score. It's now Davidson County 3 and Fort Mill 2.
3 runs on 3 hits, no errors, and 2 men left on base. We head to the bottom half of the third inning with your score now. Davidson County 3, Fort Mill 2. You're listening to the North Carolina-South Carolina American Legion Baseball Challenge presented by Fort Mill High School and brought to you on the We Are Fort Mill Broadcasting Network, powered by YouTube. We'll be right back. Athletic Director Mac Banks, ladies and gentlemen, just visited us for a couple of minutes, and we're happy to see him up there. Scott Young will lead it off for post 43 in the bottom of the third inning. His team trailing Davidson County 3-2, and Benson throws the first pitch, and he drills it out into right center field. I'm not sure anybody's going to get there. It's off the wall, and Scott will get at least a double, and he does. He stands up at second base with a leadoff double here in the bottom of the third. That'll bring up the center fielder, number 5, Zach Jennings.
43, the center fielder, number 5, Zach Jennings.
Want to mention some of the post 43 sponsors while we have time. Carter Lumber, the shirt and diamond primary sponsor. 146 locations and states to serve you, including 3 in Charlotte and 1 in Rock Hill, serving professional builders since 1932 at carterlumber.com.
Fifth base hit of the night for Fort Mill.
And that bender drops in for a strike against Zach Jennings.
Zach has one of the 5 base hits, but he was gunned down trying to steal to end the first inning.
A lot of good defensive plays so far tonight here in this final game of the North Carolina-South Carolina Challenge. That ball's popped up into shallow right field, and it will be caught for out number 1. Young fakes down to third, but doesn't go anywhere. And that'll bring up Sam Chiz.
Post 43, the right fielder, number 11.
Valentine and Beyond Moving, platinum level, whether it's a local, long distance, international, or commercial move. Get a quote ready today at valentinemoving.com or call 704-544-1800. That's Valentine and Beyond Moving. As we've heard once from the bullpen, the Palmetto Family Hearing Center, our call to the bullpen sponsor. That ball is a strike. Palmetto Family Hearing is dedicated to serving our patients' hearing needs with expertise, technology, and personalized care. 2 locations to serve you in Fort Mill and Lancaster, and at palmettofamilyhearing.com. Yo 1.
Good pitch.
Stays outside. It was a nice pitch, but just a touch outside. Shelco LLC, a general contractor who provides a wide range of construction services, including planning, pre-construction, construction management, design, build, renovation, new construction, and BIM, building excellence since 1978. That's Shelco. That ball stays inside for ball 2. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of South Carolina. You can shop plans, find an agent, get a quote, and so much more by simply going to southcarolinablues.com. 2-1 the count to Sam Chiz, runner at second base. Scott Young, 1 out here. And Benson fakes back to second base. Comporium, gold sponsor of Post 43, internet, TV, security, wireless, or phone. Visit one of the convenient Comporium locations in the Tri-County area or go to Comporium.com. Comporium, your friendly neighborhood tech giant. 2-1. And he slams it out into left field,
That's
and that looks like it's trouble. And it gets down, and Zach Young gets on his horse, and he's going to score the tying run. The windmill coming from Jonathan Romano, and another double for Sam Chiz. The score is tied now at 3. That'll bring up the left fielder, Jonathan Barshow.
Missing from Fort Mill, the center fielder, number 8, Jonathan Barshow.
Allen Tate, real estate, mortgage, insurance, or relocation. Contact an agent today or go to allentate.com. Allen Tate, we are home. That'll be a visit to the mound from the head skipper at Davidson County. Going back to the sponsors, Allstate and Carla Endress. Auto, home, life, renters, or personal property. Visit Carla's office today in Indianland or call her at 803-802-2655. Allstate, are you in good hands? Founders Credit Union, Federal Credit Union for all of your financial needs. Visit one of the many Tri-County Founders locations or go to foundersfcu.com. Relax, you're with Founders. Sonny's Grill Pit Barbecue, your barbecue how you want it. Visit our location in Rock Hill at the intersection of Highway 21 and Celanese Bypass. Sonny's Barbecue, local pitmaster since 1968. Thank you to all of our sponsors of Post 43 Baseball, and please, folks, support those who support Post 43 Baseball. The head man goes back to the dugout for Davidson County, and Barshow's ready to get in there with one out here in the bottom of the third. Sam Chiz just tied it with a double to score Scott Young, who doubled previously before him. That first pitch drops in for a strike. That was a nice breaking ball there.
That's different because normally after a mound visit, the first pitch out of somebody's arsenal is their fastball.
The 0-1. And he steps off.
And that's not a balk because the first movement was with his right foot and it stepped off the rubber, and then his left foot moved.
I've seen a lot of balks in this challenge.
Yes.
That ball's down in the dirt, and a nice play by Beck to prevent it from going back to the screen, 1-1.
But in the art of fairness, every single balk called was clearly a balk.
It was, indeed. Very little resistance by the managers, of which they were called against them.
Correct. One was pretty obvious.
Down in the dirt again, ball 2.
A pitcher earlier today had his right foot toe in the rubber, and he literally dropped the baseball.
Not sure I've ever seen that before. I know it happens, but I don't think I've ever
heard
seen
of it happening. I had never seen it until today. The only one that I can come close to that pitch just swung on and missed is 2-2, is I've seen a pitcher kind of go brain dead for just a second with their foot on the rubber. And you know how a lot of players like to flip the ball in their hand up in the air? He did that with his foot on the rubber.
Oh.
And the umpire went, that's a balk.
We saw the one guy who kept his foot on the rubber earlier today, and I can't remember which team it was, and then they flipped it over to first base for a balk.
Yes.
Barshow stays alive, and that takes a bite out of Cooper Beck behind the plate.
That kicked up, and it hit him on his left leg, and it hit the inside of the knee where it's not really covered, and it actually knocked one of the straps off of his guard. So that, but hopefully that's a fleshy part, not a bony part, because either way it's going to be a nice little bruise there, but hopefully it's the lesser of the two evils.
So hitting that bone, that is tough to move around when you've got that bruise sitting on there. What do they call those, stone bruises?
That's right. Yeah, forgot about that. Yeah, forgot about that old saying.
2-2.
Good eye.
Just barely misses the outside corner to run it full 3-2.
We're tied at 3 in the third.
Chiz likely not going to be on the move here, especially with first base open. 3-2 the count. Lots of threes on the scoreboard here at Fort Mill High School right now. Barshow waits the pitch, and he fouls it straight back. I'm wondering how we're doing with baseballs right now. Max said that Rock Hill had used up a third dozen at one point during their second game.
Yeah, there's been a lot of foul balls in this tournament, not just today by Rock Hill, but in all 3 days. And there's been 9 games, and that's a lot of baseballs because a lot of them get lost to the woods off to our right.
And he drills it right up. What a grab by the second baseman, Beck. And Shiz back just in time, beats him back to the bag, but a hammer by Barshow is pulled out of the air by Beck. That'll be 2 outs here in the bottom of the third inning, and Drew Brink comes to the plate to try to tack on an extra score. Barshow hit that right on the screws, but Beck timed it out perfectly, jumped up in the air, and snared it out of the air.
And that's when you get taught as a little leaguer, line drive through. Make sure you see the line drives through before you take off running. And that it's an old drill, but it's very important. And Sam used it right there. He took his secondary lead. He came to a hop. The ball was crushed. He looked at it and then boogied back to the bag. If he'd have taken another few steps, he'd have been out.
Something I've noticed about Brink when he's up at the plate, he kind of cocks his back arm a little bit like Joe Morgan used to do.
But as soon as you see him start to load up, that elbow comes up and the bat,
he's ready to go.
And the knob of the bat is around the bottom of his chin. So, and we've seen some interesting stances in this tournament.
We have indeed. 3-0 the count to Drew Brink. Curveball stays outside for ball 4. Oh, no, it doesn't. 3-1 now the count on Drew Brink. He knew that better than I did, that's for sure. I thought it was a ball outside. 3-1 the count. Now here's the pitch. Inside out swing, foul down the third base line to load the count up. Got a full house up on the scoreboard right now. 3-3-3-2-2. The 3-2 pitch. Swung on and missed for strike 3, and that'll be the end of the inning, but not before. Fort Mill ties the game on 2 hits, no errors, and 1 man left on base. Head to the top of the 4th inning with the score tied. Davidson County 3, Fort Mill 3. You listen to the North Carolina-South Carolina American Legion Baseball Challenge, presented by Fort Mill High School and brought to you by We Are Fort Mill Broadcasting Network, powered by YouTube. We'll be right back. Top of the 4th inning. We've got a brand new game, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate you listening wherever you are tonight here on Father's Day. Jacob Iverson throws that one right down the middle for strike 1. It'll be Will Beck, Charlie Beck, and Baden Gussa to face Jacob Iverson here in the top of the 4th inning. 0-1. Curveball fouled away to the right side. Quickly 0-2, the count on Will Beck.
In between innings, Hunter Busquet was warming up Jacob Iverson, and he struck up a conversation with the home plate umpire. They were sharing a little bit of a laugh.
Fouled that one off. Barely got enough to get that one away.
I'm going to speculate that Biscuit got his very charmful personality from his mother. But I could be a million
Well, I don't
miles
know.
wrong.
I
I don't
mean,
know.
considering what was going on earlier, that was difficult.
No, that's true. That's a great point. We have to give Eddie his due.
Yep.
Right?
I mean, I know I've struggled in the position he was in today as well.
Oh, that it's heart-wrenching.
0-2 pitch.
Got it.
Outside corner for strike 3. Nice pitch by Jacob Iverson. That'll bring up Charlie Beck.
This look for the Hogs, the second baseman, number 6, Charlie Beck.
The second of 3 Becks here. 1 out in the top of the 4th inning. Tie score at 3. Final game of the North Carolina-South Carolina American Legion Baseball Challenge. It's been a lot of fun seeing all these young men compete. 1-0 the count now to Beck. A lot of the Davidson County faithful have shifted seats, I've noticed.
Oh, yeah. I would too.
Some were down by the dugout during the first game, and now they're down this way towards the Fort Mill dugout, or towards the center of the backstop.
And Lane Ross's sister is still laying down, but she was just woken up by one of her friends giving her a FaceTime call. But she's still talking to her friend with her phone.
Slicing down the left field line, but foul.
And she's like, I don't want to sit up.
And seeing as she has her legacy shirt on, I assume that she had a game this afternoon and might be as tired as the rest of us.
And our fearless athletic director has grabbed a rake. I think that's a sign he wants to go home.
He probably does. 2-1 down on the dirt ball 3.
Okay, so remember we talked about the number of steps on Friday, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was 24,000.
Yep.
Right.
Right.
And we had a little friendly wager there. No money was on, just a friendly wager about how many it would be. We talked about 30,000, right?
Right.
Anybody want to take a gander as to how many he took yesterday? I'll let you think about it as we announce the next hitter.
Not batting the third baseman, number 5, Baden Gussa.
Baden Gussa comes to the plate with a walk to Charlie Beck. 1 out here in the top of the 4th inning. I'll guess 36,000.
Bang! 37,250.
Wowee.
So that means in 2 days, that man has taken nearly 60,000 steps.
That's 30 miles.
It is.
Wow.
I could.
Like
walk
I said, he's
500.
lost some weight this week, I'm telling you. Strike 1 to Gussa.
By the way, that walk to Beck, that's the 6th free pass of the game for Fort Mill pitching. We're only in the 4th.
That can come back to hurt you. The 0-1 pitch. And fouls that one away. 0-2 quickly in the hole on the count.
And if you look down at the hit category, Fort Mill has out-hit Davidson County. But you look at the number of runs that have scored and the number of walks given up that have scored. And 2 of the 3 runs for Davidson County that have scored have been because of a walk.
That ball hit down the right field line, foul. I've not seen a lot of hits by Davidson County so far.
No, just I've got them for 4. There was 1 in the first, and then there was 3 in the third.
Swing and a miss by Gussa, and that'll be out number 2. The second strikeout for Jacob Iverson. And that'll bring up
Coming to the plate for the Hogs, the first baseman,
Bo
number
Tiller.
20, Bo Tiller.
And Tiller hit a ball way over Zach's head in center field last time to make the score um, that tied the score at 2-2. First pitch up high, ball one.
But that doesn't even consider the fact that Fort Mill has also committed 2 errors. So add all that negativity into one big bowl, and the fact it's only 3-3 is actually a positive. Fort Mill's just got to stop beating ourselves and should take control of this ballgame because we know what the Fort Mill offense can do. It's been well documented.
It's just been silent the last couple of nights.
It was silenced last night by the Queen City Mustangs. And you really felt like earlier today when Rock Hill took the lead, you thought, okay, we've seen this movie before. Here come the Mustangs. They're going to make another comeback. And they had base runners. They did.
Mm-hmm.
But they couldn't get those big hits that they got the previous 2 days in their wins over Florence and over Fort Mill. And Rock Hill was able to beat them.
1-1 pitch over the head of Tiller for ball 2.
But that did seal victory for the Palmetto State in the challenge. And so for the first time since 2016, the Palmetto boys have bragging rights over their brethren from the Tar Heel State. So there's that.
That is a welcome accomplishment for us here in the Palmetto State. 2-1, swing and a miss, strike 2.
And so you think about the teams in this tournament. So Queen City went 2-1. You think about Florence, they went 2-1. There's only one team that came into the tournament that's gone 0-3.
And that's Cherryville, which was surprising.
Very surprising.
2-2, it's popped in the air. Drew Brink going back, and the right fielder. Who's the right fielder out there?
Chiz.
Chiz, yes, Chiz. Sam Chiz makes the play to
No runs for Davidson County. No
close
runs, no
out the
errors,
top half
and
of
a
the
man
4th
left.
inning.
The
No
bottom
runs,
of
no
the
hits,
fourth
no
inning,
errors,
still
no
tied
men
at
left.
3.
We head to the bottom of the 4th with the score still tied at 3 between Davidson County and Fort Mill. You're listening to the North Carolina, South Carolina American Legion Baseball Challenge presented by Fort Mill High School and brought to you on the We Are Fort Mill Broadcasting Network, powered by YouTube. Drew Gaff comes to the plate. It'll be followed by the top of the lineup, Eli Craddock. And then I believe the second hitter, I just had it up. Of course, on Wheel Hill Nico Barlotti.
Yep.
Bottom of the 4th inning. And that first pitch is a called strike 1. So Carter Benson pitching admirably for post 8 Hogs.
And they made a switcheroo on you. The new pitcher is Baden Gussa.
Baden Gussa, the new pitcher for Davidson County, and that ball's hit over the third base, and that'll retire Drew Gaff and bring us to the top of the order and Eli Craddock.
Back to the top of the order for Fort Mill, third baseman number 10, Eli Craddock.
2 strong innings pitched by Carter Benson. That leads the way to Gussa out on the mound. Hayden Gussa pitched a little bit in the last game. And he'll face Eli Craddock here with 1 out in the bottom of the 4th. That ball stays inside and catches the corner for strike 1.
Now, the thing that I'm curious about is how much gas does Mr. Gussa have in the tank? Because he's not just a PO. Before he was put in the game, and then when he was taken out of the game, he was still in the game. He was just a position player. Then he towed the rubber, and he did get beat around a little bit by Rock Hill. Then he was replaced, but he stayed in the game. So it's been a very hot day. This is about his 5th hour of baseball. He's already thrown 30-ish pitches, give or take. So, but at the same time, you have to remember that the coaches for Davidson County are doing what they have to do. They only have 14 players, and you gotta basically dance with who you brought to the prom.
That's correct. And right now he's had a 1-2 count against Eli. Craddock hits a sky ball out into center field. And that'll be reeled in for out number 2 by the center fielder, Brody Ray.
Shortstop number 16, Nico Bartolotti.
Nico Bartolotti steps in with 2 down here in the bottom of the 4th, looking for him to prevent, a 1-2-3 inning for Fort Mill in the bottom of the 4th. First pitch down low for ball 1 to Nico.
Bartolotti has walked twice, and he scored the first run of the night for Fort Mill.
Fouls that one back to even the count at 1-1.
So you can close the book on the starter, Benson, for Davidson County. He went 3 innings, 6 hits, 3 runs, all earned, walked 3, struck out 3, 68 pitches, 34 strikes.
It's going to be a tough play down at second base. Bartolotti's going to get there.
He's going to beat the rap. Yes, he is. Speed kills. Attaboy, Nico.
And the umpire had to take a second to think about that one, but I know that he made the right call because that ball,
Now batting for Fort Mill,
Bartolotti had his foot on the bag by the time the ball got there.
Hunter Busquet.
So 2-out single in the infield by Nico Bartolotti, and that brings up the designated hitter, Biscuit.
Just say cherry pie. Everybody know what you're talking about.
Ball stays outside of ball 1.
Nasty slider there. That infield base hit for Fort Mill, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Their 6th hit of the day, and the runner takes off for second,
by Nico, and he's
in there.
Runner in scoring position for Busquet here with 2 outs. Do some 2-out damage for Fort Mill. Steps out of the box and now gets back in. 2-0 pitch. Catches the outside corner for strike 1.
At the bottom of the zone. But Hunter ahead in the count here. So with the go-ahead run out at second base, and you look at how they're playing defensively, if he can just poke one through that whole right side, I think Nico scores easily. That one's low and inside. Now, we've seen this count with Biscuit already in this game. It's 3 balls and a strike here, and the last time he got jammed and popped it up. So does Gussa try to do what Benson did? He threw the breaking ball. He threw it right down the heart of the plate, and Hunter was able to foul it off.
He's a little bit early on that swing. Otherwise, I think he was looking to that right side and hoping that he was going to get something to drive out that way.
And it's the thing in that situation where you want to trust your hands. You stay back, but your hands are quick enough, and you have to believe that.
And that ball gets through the hole. Bartolotti's getting the windmill from Romero. And here comes the throw in, and Fort Mill leads 4-3. 2-out RBI single by Hunter Busquet puts the P43s back in the lead.
Now batting for Fort Mill, the first baseman, number 24, Scott Young.
Scott Young, the first baseman, now comes up with 2 outs. Hunter Bosquet will not have a courtesy runner as we expect normally, as he is the designated hitter tonight.
That showed you how strong Hunter is right there. But he was able to get to that ball on the outer part of the plate and hit it so hard that the shortstop couldn't react in time. And that drives in the go-ahead run and makes it 4-3. And by the way, the back-to-back base hits and the run scored, all of it with 2 outs.
And Fort Mill's been doing a lot of that during this challenge. And
that ball's
Young
crushed.
Murders that ball out into left center field.
Hunter
Bosquet is getting down to third base where he'll stop, but a 2-out double by Scott Young, and Fort Mill is back in business again with 2 outs. And that'll bring up the center fielder, Zach Jennings.
Next up for Fort Mill, the center fielder, number 5, Zach Jennings.
So it's a great piece of hitting by both players there. Scott Young, it almost looks like he took a 3/4 of a swing on that one and still got it way out there between left and center field.
Scott's always been really strong, and he just continues to get stronger and stronger now that he's a freshman in college. And this year, he's actually, you see him, and he's a stocky young man. He's actually trimmed down. But it's now, he lost some of the fat and gained some muscle. So the net is a positive thing all the way around. And that ball smoked.
Drive. Jennings smokes that, and the windmill comes for Scott Young, and he scores easily. 6-3 Fort Mill. A 2-out, 2 RBI single by Zach Jennings, and Fort Mill is starting to stretch the lead a little bit.
Walking to the plate for Fort Mill, the right fielder, number 11, Sam Chiz.
And that brings us to Sam Chiz. Fort Mill seeing the ball very well coming out of the hand of Gussa. And what do you do for Davidson County at this point?
Well, you don't leave it over the plate because Sam has already hit 2 doubles in this game, and both of them have been on breaking balls that didn't do a hill of beans, and he smoked both of them.
Chiz 2 for 2 today. He scored a run and has an RBI. He's got a runner at first base. And he hits it down to third base. Third baseman kind of looks away, grabs it, throws it over to first. And that will end the inning, but not before Fort Mill
picks up 3 runs on the
3
back
more
of
big runs
4 base hits
on 4 hits.
no errors.
No errors.
And
And
left. We had 2.
1 man left. We got to the bottom of the top of the 5th inning. Pardon me.
5th inning with a change
Score
in your
Fort Mill
score
6.
Fort Mill 6, Davidson
Davidson
County
County 3. You're listening to the North Carolina, South Carolina American Legion Baseball Challenge presented by Fort Mill High School and brought to you on the We Are Fort Mill Broadcasting Network powered by YouTube. We'll be right back. Carter Ray comes to the plate with his team down 6-3 here in the top half of the 5th inning. Fort Mill getting 3 runs in the bottom of the 4th to pull ahead of Davidson County. The pitch from Jacob Byerson is swung on and missed, strike 1. Yo 1 catches the outside corner for strike 2. 0-2 quickly on Ray. Indeed, it is nice. Outstanding. Congratulations. Very high honor indeed. Four for me at UNC. Two Rays on the sideline for Davidson County. I don't think they're related, though. That hits the mascot. And Iverson looks at himself in disgust, and that'll run the count full 3-2. He pitched in the last game briefly, I believe, against Rock Hill, and I just can't. He's the side armor, and I can't see the number that far down there. 3-2 pitch and outside corner for strike three. Nice pitch by Jacob Iverson to get one out here in the top half of the fifth inning. And that will bring up. So Brody Ray comes in. Two Rays, three Becks. Got a full house there. Time to go to Vegas. Iverson right down Tom Hall Street for strike one. Dun, 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 dun. Rylan Everhart. Great to see you. Indeed, it is. And despite the fact that it sometimes makes me feel old when I hear Gabe Simmons say Mr. Cook and Cannon, for instance, saying "Nice to see you, sir." I mean, I love the respect that these kids have for us old folks. Swing and a miss, tagged out for strike three. The second strikeout by Iverson here in the top half of the fifth inning, and that'll bring up Cooper Beck, the catcher. Beck 0 for 2 tonight, but he does have an RBI. And he drills that out in the center field, and that'll drop in front of Zach. 2-out base hit for the catcher, and that'll probably warrant a courtesy runner for Davidson County before Lowe comes to the plate. Caden Poole comes to be the courtesy runner, and Carter Benson, the starting pitcher, now comes to the plate in place of Trent Lowe, the DH. Iverson comes set. Here's the pitch. And again, behind the hitter for ball one. Three runs, 5 hits, no errors for Davidson County. 6 runs, 10 hits, 2 errors for the P43s. That ball's upstairs for ball two. Iverson not bending his back, as they used to say. And there is action down in the P43 bullpen. 2-0 pitch. Swing and a miss for strike one. Benson had a nice cut at it, but just barely missed.
Blake Sanders.
And that ball does get back to the backstop, and Iverson hangs his head a little bit on that. The runner advances down to second base, and that runs the count 3-1.
Iverson has gone 2 1/3 innings so far. That was his 47th pitch. 26 strikes.
The 3-1 pitch drops down there for strike two to run it full. Again, congratulations to Cannon with all of his accomplishments, the
Absolutely.
GPA, the Eagle Scout, moving to college, the fact that he's beautified his alma mater's campus here on the baseball field, the 3-2 pitch. And behind him again, and this is unusual, seeing Iverson throw three pitches behind the hitter on the same hitter.
Walking to the plate for Davidson County, the left fielder number 12, Callister Purnell.
Callister Purnell comes up to the plate, the left fielder. Runners at first and second with two outs here in the top half of the fifth inning. Presnell 0 for 2, but he has walked.
Walk number 7 by the Fort Mill
It's a lot of
pitching
free
staff
passes.
tonight. Yes.
And he fouls that one back. 0-1 the count. You like high school athletics? Do you like the town of Fort Mill? If so, we've got the program for you. Join the Mouthy Milltowners podcast every Sunday evening on the Apple platform. Although we will not be recording tonight, but we may play a practical joke on our co-host, Mac Banks. That ball in the dirt, and the runner from second will get down to third base. We're not planning to record tonight because it's so late and we had baseball all weekend, but we may ask Mac next time he comes up what time we're recording tonight.
And you know what kind of plug that was, ladies and gentlemen? I'm shameless. Shameless as a man can be.
Join me, JT, and Mac Banks every Sunday night, normally, on the Apple platform for the Mally Milltowners podcast. We will talk everything high school athletics that revolves around the town of Fort Mill.
3 grumpy old men who are addicted to high school athletics.
Indeed, we are. The 1-1 pitch. Iverson throws that one up high for ball 2.
My wife gets so annoyed. All I did yesterday was call baseball all day long with you on the air. And when I got home last night, took a shower, laid down on the sofa, what's the first thing I did?
Watch baseball?
Turned on a baseball game. She's like, man, you have got a problem.
Yes, we do, but it's an addiction that is better than what it could be. 3-1, and Gaff goes out to the mound, and Tom Schooler brings some baseballs in, but he's not going to go out to the mound unless he pulls a Michael Jordan fake to the right and out to the left.
Hey, what was your take, speaking of MJ, what was your take on him selling his part of the Hornets?
I think he just has gotten to the point now where he just wants to enjoy his life. I mean, he's in his 60s now. He probably just wants to be able to enjoy what he's built over the course of his lifetime. I mean, he's obviously, to many, the greatest basketball player of all time. He's made his billions and probably just doesn't want that responsibility anymore. And that ball is ball 4 to load the bases. Hey, you'll never get the basketball bug completely out of Michael Jordan.
Davidson County and shortstop number 4, Will Beck.
And that will bring a visit from Jonathan Romano. And that may be the end of the night for Jacob Iverson. Will Beck come to the plate. He's 1 for 3 tonight. He struck out twice and walked once. Romano out there, and he does not take the ball. He probably is just telling Jacob, come on, let's just get this one more out. That's all we need here in the bottom of the fifth, or top of the fifth inning, pardon me. Number 2, I don't see that on. Will Beck, the shortstop, leadoff hitter. And that ball sprayed out in the outfield, and that's going to score at least 1 run, if not 2. And the ball comes in, and that's a 2-out, 2 RBI double by Will Beck. And that'll make the score 6-5 now. Yeah, Will Beck was number 4 yesterday, I believe, and number 6 is going to be Charlie Beck, all of the Becks, and that'll be the end of the night for Jacob Iverson. Can that shut the door in inning number 5? So far, 2 1/3 innings, 3 hits, 2 runs, both earned, 4 walks, 4 strikeouts for Iverson. The 2 runners on base right now are his responsibility. And coming on to pitch for the P43s will be,
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention, please. Now on the mound for Fort Mill, number 7, Blake Sanders.
Blake Sanders comes into the ball game for post 43. While he warms up, we'll take a break for station identification. You're listening to the North Carolina South Carolina American Legion Baseball Challenge, presented by Fort Mill High School and brought to you on the We Are Fort Mill Broadcasting Sports Network, powered by YouTube. We'll be right back. Charlie Beck steps in there with runners at second and third with 2 outs here in the top half of the 5th inning. Fort Mill leading 6-5. But 2 runs scored here by Davidson County has trimmed the lead to 1. The pitch. Hat comes off of Sanders, but called strike 1.
If there's one thing that drives his teammates nuts, and we saw this during tryouts, they said, "Oh, you're going to love Blake," except for one thing. His hat flies off. And it doesn't matter what size the hat is. It doesn't matter what brand of hat it is. It's going to fly off.
Swing and a miss for strike 2, and maybe that's distracting Beck up there at the plate. My son had that same issue his first season playing for the HP4 Clippers, and the coaches just got the biggest kick out of it. And he was also a pitcher, so that thing would come off his big melon, and they'd have to get something to kind of shrink it up a little bit. 0-2 the count to Charlie Beck. Here's the pitch.
You saying your kid has a big head?
He does. Foul away.
Okay.
He actually has a bit of an ego, too. He'd never admit that to you, but he...
Oh, there you go. Yep. Speaking of kids, my beloved daughter paid us a surprise visit earlier this afternoon.
She sure did.
Boy, that really perked me up. I was very surprised and very pleasantly surprised. There's a warm burn of the second baseman, Brink. He'll throw to first, and that'll retire the side. 2 runs, 2 hits, no errors, and 2 men left. We head to the bottom of inning number 5. It's a 1-run game.
Baden Gussa out on the mound again for Post 8 Hogs. And let me see who he's facing here. It'll be Jonathan Barshow, Drew Brink, and Drew Gaff here in the bottom of the fifth inning with Fort Mill leading Davidson County 6-5. Nice, good game to conclude the North Carolina-South Carolina Baseball Challenge.
Leading up the bottom of the fifth inning for Fort Mill Post 43, center fielder number 8, Jonathan Barshow.
And Barshow comes to the plate. He's 1 for 2 with an RBI tonight. I'd love to see a few insurance runs here between the fifth and the sixth inning so we can get out of here at the end of the seventh inning.
If we go to extras, I'm just jumping out of the press box. Just letting you know that ahead of the time.
That curveball stays a little bit high and inside for ball one.
Tell my wife and daughter that I love them.
Oh, I will definitely relay the message.
I will be done officially.
That catches the inside corner for strike one. Actually, the first pitch looked more like a strike than that one.
I mean, if I was at home in my moon pod with an ice cold Coke, that'd be different.
Yes, that would be a lovely evening. That ball catches the outside corner for strike two. 1-2 now on Barshow. Swing and a miss for strike three. And that'll be out number one here in the bottom of the fifth inning. First strikeout for Gussa.
Next up for Fort Mill, the second baseman number 1, Drew Brink.
Drew Brink comes to the plate. He's 0 for 2 tonight with 2 strikeouts. He'll be facing Gussa for the first time. Here's the pitch. Down to the dirt for ball one.
Brink has been on the struggle bus tonight. He's 0 for 2. He struck out both times, one swinging, one looking. And there are 4 strikeouts in the game by Davidson County pitching, and all 4 of them come from the 7, 8, and 9 hole.
Which has been pretty good so far this weekend until tonight. That ball stays outside for ball three.
It's been pretty good 75% of the season, which has been a secret sauce for Fort Mill. Turn it back to that top of the order, and it turns into crooked runs because it turns it back over to Eli, Nico, Scott, Biscuit, guys like that that can put the ball in play and rifle shot stuff somewhere.
3-1. He fouls that one off to the left side. The book officially closed on Jacob Iverson, 2 1/3 innings. 3 hits, 2 runs, both earned, 4 walks, 4 strikeouts for the junior from Catawba Ridge. And that's ball 4. So the leadoff man, actually not the leadoff man, but first base runner of the bottom of the fifth inning.
Number 4,
Drew Gaff comes to the plate. He's 0 for 2 tonight with 1 strikeout. And Brink looking to use that speed that he's got on the bases, and he has that nice lateral movement when he's out in the infield. And maybe he can use a little bit of that right here to get in the scoring position with 1 out in the bottom of the fifth. And fouled away. He waited on the curveball, Gaff did, but wasn't able to get enough of it to get it out into the field of play.
That is the fifth walk issued by Davidson County, but I believe that's the first walk issued by Mr. Gussa.
I think you're right. It is. 1 walk, 1 strikeout so far for Gussa.
And he's done exactly what his coach needed him to do.
Keep him in the game, and they're chipping away right now. Eli Craddock just practiced his putt with his bat. The ball that was fouled off by
Oh my gosh.
Gaff, and he had a nice little stroke to put it into the dugout.
These Fort Mill kids in the game of golf.
That ball is up high, ball to even the count, and they gun him out. At first, I thought that Brink had gotten his hand on the right side of the bag to get in under the tag. But another nice play by Cooper Beck, and that'll be 2 outs here in the bottom of the fifth inning. Cooper
Pretty
Beck
good
has had
jump.
some solid throws all night.
Yep, pretty good jump with a perfect throw.
That
And give
ball.
the umpire a ton of credit. He moved his feet, was standing literally 5 feet, looking dead at the bag. He did not have an obstructive view. He had a perfect look at it. It was a bang bang play, but
And Gaff hits it right to Beck at second base, who flips over to his
Fort Mill
brother,
ends up going in order in
other
their
Beck,
half inning number 5. We head to the
and
sixth
that'll be
inning.
3 outs.
Fort Mill 6, Davidson County 5.
Head to the top of the sixth inning with Fort Mill still leading Davidson County 6-5. No runs, no hits, no errors, nobody left on base. You're listening to the North Carolina South Carolina American Legion Baseball Challenge presented by Fort Mill High School and brought to you on the We Are Fort Mill Broadcasting Sports Network on YouTube. We'll be right back.
dang it.
Baden Gusso, the first hitter in the top half of the sixth inning for Davidson County. His team trails Fort Mill Post 43 6-5.
Had been saying that right the entire tournament until right then.
Happens to the best of us.
Unbelievable. And the worst, which would be me.
Takes a bunt, and the umpire says no, he didn't go around. Ball 1.
The game started with Miles Corcoran, went 2 1/3, then Iverson 2 1/3, and now it's Blake Sanders. And if he could go 2 1/3, that would
He gets
the
the
trick.
save.
That's actually true. It would give Iverson the win.
Yep.
And at
Corcoran
this point,
figures out of the decision right now.
yeah, and at this point, I don't want to sound like Al Davis, but at this point, just win, baby.
That's it. Called strike on the inside corner, 2-1.
Hit it down to the bullpen is going to be Trent Lowe, who at the moment is in the DH spot. Good pitch.
Curveball right over for a strike, 2-2 here to the leadoff hitter in the top of the sixth inning. Bo Tiller would be next. He's 1 for 3 with 2 RBIs. Here comes Set. And he strokes it over to Drew Brink, who can't get to it. The leadoff man aboard here in the top of the sixth inning. Fort Mill leading 6-5, and that'll bring up Bo Tiller.
7th base hit of the night for the Hogs.
Gussa aboard. Landon Weldon will be next for post 8. My first pitch down to the dirt, ball 1. Luke Weldon, pardon me.
So Weldon was taken down by Carter Ray, but there's the re-entry. And I know it's American Legion, and that's usually not allowed, but in this tournament, it is. There were 2 adjustments, if you will, for this tournament. Number 1, normally you can only have a courtesy runner for the catcher. In this tournament, you can have it for the pitcher or the catcher, and you get one re-entry. So it's more like high school
It's like the
baseball in the state
juniors
of
rules.
it's basically like high school baseball in the state of South Carolina, which is what everybody's used to anyway. There are some other nuances about play in American Legion that are different from South Carolina High School League baseball. One of them is the pop-up slide. Fastball right
down
on the
Tom
out.
Hall
Yeah.
Street.
In South Carolina High School League baseball, the pop-up slide is considered interference. You're out. You can employ the pop-up slide in American Legion, however.
The 3-1 from Sanders. And he hits it down to Eli Craddock, who cannot handle the ball. And that'll goes another hit. First and second here with nobody out. And that'll bring up Luke Weldon.
Now batting number 15, Luke Weldon.
And the umpire signaling that re-entry right there.
Re-entry, yep. So they'll go to the scorecard. So now the tying run in scoring position, nobody out.
Here's the pitch. Catches the outside corner, but not called a strike, ball one.
It was a little bit below the zone, and Drew Gaff tried to steal a strike for his pitcher, but the home plate umpire wasn't buying what he was selling.
Sanders with the 1-0 pitch. Looks back at second base. He squares the bunt, and he lays down a beauty. That's going to be a tough play.
Oh, what
Gaff
a
lets
heads-up
it roll.
play. What a heads-up play by Drew Gaff.
Gaff saw the ball spinning towards the sideline, and it spun out of the baseline foul. Great play by the Fort Mill catcher, Drew Gaff.
The ball hit the dirt. Looked like to me it bounced twice, but it had all kinds of side spin on it. Drew recognized that. He knew he didn't have a play. He picks that ball up in fair territory. Obviously, it's a fair ball, but his chances of getting the runner going to first, not very good.
So it was good to just let it roll. Either way, you were going to get the same result unless you got the foul. 1-1. Nice breaking ball for strike two.
Just drops it right off the table.
And that also shows that Weldon was trying to rush his bunt, because we were always taught as baseball players, you try to catch the baseball with your bat in order to bunt it down the line. And he had the backspin on it, which caused it to go foul. 1-2. And he hits it down the line, and nice play by Scott Young to get out number one. He just saved a run right there with that play.
He did. It'll go 3 unassisted. It's as good as a bunt, if you want to think about it that way.
It is.
Now batting Davidson County number 1, Brody Ray.
So Brody Ray comes to the plate. He's had a much more successful night here than he did against Rock Hill. He's 1 for 3 tonight with 1 strikeout. As I mentioned, he was the victim of what you really never want as a hitter. He had the golden sombrero of 4 strikeouts in the game against Rock Hill. That ball in the dirt, ball 1. And I'm not trying to make fun of him. I'm just saying that that's a rare feat.
It's hard to do.
And he's a tall, lanky kid, and he looks like a very good hitter. So just an off day for Brody Ray. Here comes the 1-0. That ball skied into shallow left field. Looks like the shortstop Bartolotti will get it, and nobody will advance. So a big out right there for Blake Sanders.
Nico ripped his hat off and threw it away like a piece of trash.
You'd think that he was the catcher out there at the shortstop position.
23, Cooper Beck.
Cooper Beck comes to the plate. He's 0 for 3 tonight with a strikeout. And it'll be up to him to try to even or take the lead here in the top of the 6th, but not before Jonathan Romano goes out to visit his pitcher, Blake Sanders.
There is action in the Fort Mill bullpen. It's number 13, Lane Ross.
Lane was the starter in Game 1 on Friday night. He's had a day's rest. Romano pats Sanders on the rear end, and his catcher, Drew Gaffin, heads back to the Fort Mill dugout. Two outs here for Cooper Beck, the catcher. As I just mentioned, it'll be up to him to be able to deliver a run tying or run leading base hit here with two outs in the top of the sixth. The pitch stays off it for ball one. Again, happy Father's Day to all you fathers out there. And I know that there are plenty of mothers out there that have to act as fathers for whatever the circumstance is. We thank you as well. And
100%.
hope you're enjoying your day today. I know we are. We're tired, but we're enjoying it. The 1-0. That ball is popped up in foul territory. Young throws his cap off like Nico did, and a nice effort there by the right fielder Sam Chiz, but he couldn't quite get there, leaving the count at 1-1.
Yeah, Sam had to go a long way. Scott trying to look over his head and head on a swivel, turned himself around in a pretzel trying to get a look at the baseball. And it is that time of the night where the lights are on. They're taking some effect, but there's still enough light in the sky. And I'll give a heads up to, or a attaboy to Drew Brink, who was a house of fire trying to get over into foul territory. And Sam was the closest one to it, but even Sam ran out of time.
He sure did. The 1-1 pitch. Swing and a miss, fouled off actually in front of the plate, 1-2.
Can Blake Sanders get out of the soup? Folks, it was runners at second and third, nobody out. Now it's second and third and two outs and a 1-2 count. Fort Mill just desperately trying to cling to this one-run lead.
He fouls that one off, and tip of the cap to the Davidson County Hogs, because they could have had a really rough outing here after going so long with Rock Hill with all those runs scored and being out there in the hot sun. But they look as fresh as daisies right now, surprisingly.
Yep, still a lot of juice.
1-2 pitch, and he just lofts it out in the center field, but it stays up for Zach Jennings to make the catch and retire the side.
No runs on 2 hits, no errors.
Fort Mill gets out of a jam. No runs, 2 hits, no errors. 2 men left on base. Head to the bottom of the 6th inning with your score, Fort Mill 6 and Davidson County 5. You're listening to the North Carolina-South Carolina American Legion Baseball Challenge, presented by Fort Mill High School and brought to you by the We Are Fort Mill Broadcasting Network, powered by YouTube. We'll be right back. Bottom half of inning number 6 here from Fort Mill High School in the finale of the American Legion North Carolina South Carolina Baseball Challenge. And Ryan Everhart the
10.
new pitcher for
Eli
Davidson
Craddock.
County. And he will face the top of the lineup here with Eli Craddock coming to the plate first. He'll be followed by Nico Bartolotti and Hunter Busquet. In the sixth inning, Fort Mill clinging to a 6-5 lead. The sidearm delivery by Everhart is a called strike.
So if you're Eli here, you want to do a couple of jobs. First of all, you want to see as many pitches as you can so your teammates can see what Mr. Everhart has in his arsenal. Second thing is, if you're Eli, you want to get on first somehow, some way. Hit by pitch, base hit, error, walk, whatever.
He hits a shot over to Beckett short, who throws it short hop, and he cannot hold on to it.
And there you go. Reached on an E6. A good throw would have gotten Eli. I don't want to take a hit away from Eli, but that was a surefire E.
And Tiller could not come up with that
Walking
ball.
to the plate for Fort Mill, the shortstop number 16, Nico Bartolotti.
Nico Bartolotti comes to the plate. He's 1 for 1 with 2 walks. He's also scored 2 runs, and he delivers a ball out into left field. And runners at first and second with nobody out here in the bottom of the sixth inning. That'll bring up the designated hitter, Hunter Busquet.
Oh, Nico's hurt.
Did Nico come on, get down the base a little bit too difficult?
He hit the bag at first base, and I think he hit the outside of the bag as he was trying to come around, because I think he was watching Eli in front of him, because he might have taken the extra 90 if it had been available. But hopefully he's going to be okay, and Coach Romano will come over and check on Nico. But Nico's going to stay in the game. Of course he is.
That's who Nico is.
That is exactly. That's how all these Fort Mill kids are.
Hunter Busquet has his concerns. He went down there to make sure that his teammate was okay.
Fort Mill post 43, the designated hitter number 12, Hunter Busquet.
Busquet and Bartolotti, of course, teammates at Clover High School as well. So he has 2 reasons to be concerned for his teammate, but he seems to be okay. And he squares to bunt, and ball's low for ball 1.
Hunter did this on Friday or Thursday. Same situation, laid down a bunt, and it was a beaut right up the first baseline.
And it takes a lot of skill, and the double steal works. So the bunt will probably be off. 2-0 the count to Busquet. 2 stolen bases by Craddock and Bartolotti. And Fort Mill's trying to engineer some insurance runs here, up 1 in the bottom of the sixth inning and nobody out.
But that might not necessarily take the bunt off, because you got Kamikaze down there, Eli Craddock, and Hunter delivers. A line drive out to left field. Yep.
And that sacrifice fly will make it 7-5, and Bartolotti almost got caught napping. And he did. The throw behind from Beck to Beck, and Bartolotti is out. The double play, though, does bring a run in. But that'll be 2 outs and nobody on the bags for Scott Young.
Fort Mill post 43, the first baseman number 24, Scott Young.
And a heads-up play by the Davidson County defense right there to pick Bartolotti off the bag. Not something you want to see if you're head coach Tom Skula. Swing and a miss by Scott Young, especially when you would have another runner in scoring position with just 1 out. But nevertheless, 1 insurance run across the plate, 7-5 Fort Mill. That ball down low for ball 1.
Second sacrifice fly in the last few games for Biscuit as well, by the way.
Scott Young 2 for 2 tonight. He scored 2 runs and also walked. He's had a nice offensive night. That stays low, ball 2.
So the pickoff of Bartolotti, I think, goes 7 to 6 to 4.
Yes, that would be correct. And that ball inside, ball 3 to Scott.
And so like you said, bases clear and 2 outs.
Zach Jennings would be next. Right over the heart of the plate, and that runs a full 3-2. 3-2 with 2 outs. Bottom of the sixth inning. 7-5, your score, Fort Mill.
Scott turned around and was like, man, I should have been hacking. Good.
That one stays. Oh, and he calls him out.
Wow.
And Scott didn't like that call at all, and he grumbles all the way back to the
1 run for Fort Mill.
dugout.
1 hit, 1 error. Nobody left on. We head to the 7th inning. Fort Mill 7, Davidson County 5.
As you heard JT, a run on a hit. No errors, nobody left on base. We head to the top half of the 7th inning. Last chance for Davidson County here in the finale of the American Legion North Carolina South Carolina Baseball Challenge here at Fort Mill High School, presented to you by the We Are Fort Mill Broadcasting Sports Network, powered by YouTube. We'll be right back for the finale of this game after these important messages. Carter Benson, the designated hitter, comes up to the plate. He was the starting pitcher for Davidson County. And the pitch right down Tom Hall Street for strike 1. Sanders has done his job so far. If he can get through this, he'll get the save and a triple of 2 1/3 inning pitchers tonight. The 0-1. Swing and a miss for strike 2.
And if Blake were to run into trouble, Lane Ross is ready to go. If.
That's a nice luxury to have.
Mark Packer says it all the time. If. The biggest word in sports.
Yes, it is. The 0-2 pitch. Curveball hit right to the third baseman, Eli Craddock, who throws over to Scott Young, and that'll be out number 1. That'll bring up the left fielder, Callister Presnell.
12, Callister Presnell.
Presnell 0 for 2. He has walked and scored one of the 5 runs for Davidson County. Davidson County in danger of losing all 3 of their games, just like Cherryville post 100. That would be 2 of the 3 teams from North Carolina losing all 3 of their games. Right down the middle for strike 1. And it looks like Sanders is starting to find his groove here late in the game.
And it's interesting how many pitchers, once they get a little fatigue in their arm, all of a sudden their stuff comes alive. Sometimes even the fastball.
The 0-1 pitch. He throws over to the top, and that's a little bouncer to Drew Brink, who throws over to Scott Young. 2 down here, and they're down to their last hope and Will Beck.
Back to the top of the order for Davidson County at number 2, Will Beck.
Scott Young looking to retire the side here. Another ground ball to the infield out, and that will be the case. Will Beck, 1 for 3 tonight. He's got a walk and 2 strikeouts. Sanders looks in, the pitch, and he hits it very hard over to the shortstop, Nico Bartolotti, and he throws over to Scott Young.
That's your ball game, the final
And
score.
that'll be the final score with Fort Mill 7, Davidson County 5.
Thank y'all so much for coming out
We'll
this
come back
evening.
with some more totals and some more final thoughts of the tournament. You're listening to the North Carolina South Carolina American Legion Baseball Challenge, presented by Fort Mill High School and brought to you by the We Are Fort Mill Broadcasting Sports Network, powered by YouTube. We'll be right back. So a good way to end the North Carolina South Carolina baseball challenge. Fort Mill defeats Davidson County 7-5 in the final game of the challenge, and the Sandlappers beat the Tar Heels 7-2 in this challenge, and it's very surprising considering the level of talent that came out between Davidson County, Cherryville, and the Queen City Mustangs.
And it was, and especially when you consider after Saturday, middle of the tournament, where there's Florence with a chance to go 3-0 in the tournament, but back come the Queen City Mustangs. So now, if you think about it, Cherryville went 0-3 in the tournament, then Davidson County went 0-3. So really, the only team that carried the flag for the Tar Heel State was the Queen City Mustangs, who could have made it 3-0 earlier today, except for the Rock Hill boys from Post 34, who came from behind and defeated the Mustangs. And so Rock Hill in this tournament did what they were supposed to do. Fort Mill went 2-1 in the tournament, and Florence went 2-1 in the tournament. So you had two teams go 0-3, and you had one team go 3-0. So really, if you're South Carolina American Legion baseball, you're really happy because it'd been a long time since South Carolina had won this challenge, and that's big ups to all the guys from North Carolina. They had owned this for so long, but the first time since 2016, now it's South Carolina's turn to have a little bragging rights for a little bit, at least 365 anyway.
That's right. Well, you think about all the games that we saw this weekend, and really the only two games that were blowouts were Florence's first two games, and then all the rest of them were pretty tight. So it's not like you had a very dominant team out there that was just blowing everybody away, especially once Florence dropped their game to the Queen City Mustangs.
And it's just really what making it specific to Fort Mill here. This victory to me was very important, and even though it was in close fashion, 7-5 was the final score, still a hard-earned victory. And the fact that Fort Mill had issued so many walks and left so many runners on base, that's normally a combination to get your butt beat. But in this case, Fort Mill was able to hold on for the 7-5 victory. Now Fort Mill Post 43 stands at 6-4 overall, now heading into a very important series like you and I talked about earlier today, both senior and junior level. Lancaster Post 31, you guys get 2 out of 3 at home over at the Swamp. Us senior boys have to travel down 521 twice and take on Coach Jimmy Jackson's bunch, who really tough. And by the way, Lancaster beat the senior team last year 3 out of 4.
That's right, and that's always a tough place to play. The juniors did an admirable job of beating Lancaster in 3 games last season, but that's not to say that those games didn't come with their own set of struggles. So definitely the juniors and seniors have a tough road ahead of them this week. But the senior team here with this win against a pretty good Davidson County team, they were able to get some momentum. They were able to conserve some pitching for next week, and sky's the limit for Post 43 seniors.
And what you had stated earlier in the game actually came to pass. So you were Johnny on the spot. Jacob Iverson will earn the win. Blake Sanders will get the save. And basically started with Miles Corcoran, then Iverson. Iverson went 2 1/3. Each pitcher went 2 1/3, but Sanders shut the door and locked it behind him. 2 hits, no runs, no walks, no strikeouts. Blake threw 29 pitches, 21 strikes. Offensively for Fort Mill, 2 base hits for Nico Bartolotti, 2 for Scott, 2 for Zach, 2 for Sam Chiz, 1 each for Eli and Barshow. So we're going to get a nice earned break for about 48 hours and then turn the wick back up to 12 and get back on the air and bring you all the action. Go ahead and let y'all know if you want to listen to the junior game. They're going to be on the One Nation Sports Network. That's on MixLR. We're going to take the senior trip down to Lancaster. The plan is to do both. I can't guarantee you that I'll be able to do both, but at the very least, we'll have at least audio on MixLR down on Tuesday night. I'll take the camera. If I have a good setup, I'll certainly do that. If not, then we'll certainly have something to bring you all the action. But thank you all so much for listening in, wherever you may be across the fruited plains, to whether it's this game, any game you listen to this weekend. We greatly appreciate it. And Keith, outstanding job in 3 days, my man. Yeoman's work. We spent more time in this box than we have in our own house. So thankfully that has come to an end and we get to go to home.
For a little while anyway.
Yeah. Hopefully our wives are still married to us where our stuff's not on the sidewalk. So that's always pleasant. But it's always a great pleasure to work with you. and hopefully we can do it
Absolutely.
sooner rather than later.
Yes, indeed. And thank you very much for inviting me to come in this week and join you on your network. And it's been very enjoyable, and I got to see a whole lot of really good baseball this weekend.
So appreciate it. So on behalf of our beloved athletic director, Mac Banks, senior head coach, Tom Skula, Keith Cook, I'm John Turner. Until Tuesday, so long, everybody.